Welcome to AGWA, the Automated Geospatial Watershed Assessment Tool video series. AGWA was developed by the University of Arizona with the USDA ARS Southwest Watershed Research Center and the US EPA. AGWA is available at www.tucson.ars.ag.gov/AGWA. Funding for these videos was provided by the Department of Defense Environmental Security Technology Certification Program, ESTCP. This is video 14. This video will present some of the management tools available in AGWA. AGWA includes several tools that are very useful for management and land use scenarios. This is a list of the commonly used tools that we'll discuss in more detail in this video. The Urban tool is used to evaluate green infrastructure practices and BMPs for stormwater management in urban areas. The Land Cover Modification tool is used to evaluate the hydrologic effects of various types of land cover changes, such as urbanization or revegetation. The Military Disturbance tool is intended to be applied in military training scenarios to evaluate the effects on runoff and erosion. The Erosion Control Structures and Pond tool evaluates these structures for stormwater management. The Burn Severity tool applies a burn severity map to evaluate fire impacts on runoff and erosion. The Climate Assessment tool allows the user to modify climate data for future scenarios. And the Multi-Point Multi-Watershed tool is a time savings tool that models multiple watersheds at once. Now we'll look at each tool in more detail. The Urban tool is used for relative change analysis of urban stormwater runoff through the application of LID or green infrastructure practices in KNROS 2. It is a separate add-in to ArcMap, has a separate drop-down menu, and creates a unique geodatabase for each project. The tool can model several common green infrastructure practices such as rainwater harvesting, retention basins or rain gardens, pervious or permeable surfaces, and curb cuts. The tool represents a typical home lot that includes pervious and impervious surfaces such as roofs, driveways, yards, or patios. The tool routes flow from a lot to the street and then to the watershed outlet. The analysis can apply to a single lot or can be applied to a group of lots. The Land Cover Modification tool is used for land cover change scenario analysis. The analysis area can be drawn by the user or it can be an existing polygon map. The tool is accessed through the AGWA Tools menu and the Other Options menu item. There are several types of land cover changes that can be performed. You can perform a single change that changes the entire user-defined area to a new land cover type, for example, from grassland to urban for a new building. You can change just one land cover type to another within the area of interest, for example, from grasslands herbaceous to barren land to simulate a large military training event. The tool creates a new land cover map based on the modification scenario. The third type of land cover change creates a random distribution of up to 3 land cover types within the area of interest, where you define the percentage for each land cover type. There are 2 types of random distributions. The spatially random surface, where the land cover types are just randomly arranged in the polygon, or a patchy fractal surface that will group the land cover types based on the H value and random seed selected by the user. After you define the type of land cover change, name the new land cover map to be created. Then select an existing polygon map for the area of interest, or you can create one on the fly using the tool. Once those steps are completed, click Process and your new map will be created. The image on the left shows a spatially random distribution for 2 land cover types. The image on the right shows a patchy fractal surface with 3 land cover types. This surface is useful for simulating revegetation, for example. The military disturbance tool was developed specifically for military applications. It evaluates the effects of disturbance to vegetation and soils from military training activities. The tool includes 3 levels of training disturbance: light, moderate, and heavy. Lightly disturbed areas would have abundant seed sources and not require any revegetation or grading. Moderately disturbed areas would have some seed sources remaining with moderate surface disturbance. Heavily disturbed areas would require recontouring, grading, reseeding, and mulching. Disturbance levels are defined based on reduced soil porosity from vehicle compaction, reduced canopy, basal, and litter cover, and reduced surface roughness due to vegetation removal due to the military training activities. The military disturbance tool can be used to evaluate potential changes to runoff and erosion due to a particular type of military training event and can help with management of an area. The model parameters that are revised in the tool are in a lookup table that was developed for the Army with the help from land managers at Fort Carson, Colorado, and Fort Bliss, Texas. The values in the lookup table can be modified for different locations. The erosion control dams and pond tool is used to evaluate structures that are used for stormwater detention, erosion control, or sediment storage. It's a toolbox for ArcMap accessed through ArcCatalog. The tool is used to evaluate existing dams and to inform placement of additional dams in a watershed. The tool has 3 steps. Identify and locate a dam and characterize existing storage or the volume behind the dam. LiDAR will provide the best results if it's available. The next step defines the dam and spillway design and calculates the discharge through the dam. The last step creates the summary files for export to Kinneros 2 and runs the model. The pond tool is used to determine the effects of runoff, peak flow, and erosion with and without dams in a watershed. This figure shows the influence of the 112 erosion control dams on runoff at the Taylor Arroyo Watershed at Pinyon Canyon Maneuver Site in Colorado. Note the decrease in runoff at the watershed outlet with the dams, shown in the hydrograph. The burn severity tool is used to evaluate the hydrologic effects of fire to identify areas at risk of increased erosion or peak flows on site and downstream. The tool has been adopted by the Department of Interior National Burned Area Emergency Response Teams, known as the BEAR teams, where it's used to identify potentially affected valuable properties or resources called values at risk, or VARs. The burn severity tool uses a burn severity map to adjust model parameters based on the severity of the fire, low, moderate, and high severity. The difference between the pre-fire and post-fire simulations identifies high-risk areas and potential impacts to VARs. This allows the limited funds available for fire mitigation to be targeted to areas where it will have the most impact. For example, the BEAR team applied this tool to the Elk Fire Complex in Idaho and were able to save about $7 million by targeting high-risk areas for mitigation spending. The climate assessment tool in the SWOT model is used to modify climate data for future scenarios of climate change. The left side of the table shows the actual climate station monthly values, including mean, maximum, and minimum temperatures, mean precipitation, and number of wet days. The right side of the table provides several ways to modify the climate data. Each monthly value can be changed individually, or the values for the entire year can be changed by an annual percentage, or the rainfall intensity can be changed by a percentage. The new data are then saved as a new climate file that can be used in SWOT simulations. The multi-point, multi-watershed analysis tool uses an area of interest, such as a fire perimeter, an urban area, or an individual building site, as the boundary to identify all of the watersheds that intersect it. The tool automatically locates and delineates each watershed that drains the area of interest and runs all model simulations at the same time. This helps in planning by identifying all affected areas and saves time by modeling all the watersheds at once. And it produces a hydrograph or setograph at each watershed outlet or channel reach. AGWA is available at www.tucson.ars.ag.gov/AGWA. The website includes the AGWA package with all of the models and lookup tables needed to run AGWA, tutorials and the data to run the tutorials, various publications and documents, and an FAQ section. These videos are intended to supplement and support the AGWA tutorials and online documentation. The next video will review some important concepts for watershed modeling.